this just in, actor Alec Baldwin has been charged in the fatal shooting of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. Hutchins was fatally shot nearly 15 months during the filming of the movie Rust in New Mexico. Baldwin was rehearsing a scene with a pistol when the gun was discharged, killing Hutchins. The movie's film armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed has also been charged with involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors say if Alec Baldwin had done his job correctly, Hutchins would still be alive. This news means we have a lot to break down here on Law and Crime, and who better to do it? I'm now joined by Law and Crime's founder, Dan Abrams. This Alec Baldwin news obviously coming down just less than an hour. So good to have you here, Dan. Dan, are you surprised by this?
Well, look, I'm not surprised only because the DA about a month ago, when she was asking for additional funds, made it clear that she was likely to charge under one of the homicide statutes. So I'm not surprised in that sense. But big picture, yes, I'm surprised. And I'm surprised in particular at how they threw the book at Alec Baldwin. Because this isn't just an involuntary manslaughter charge. Because under New Mexico law, typical involuntary manslaughter, up to 18 months in prison. It just have to show negligence. That's what we were expecting. They've offered a potential jury two theories here. The second theory of it says if there is something more than simple negligence involved in a death, then there could be a mandatory 5-year sentence. So these prosecutors, even if they wanted to charge Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter, didn't also have to offer this second option, which is to say an even stiffer potential crime where you're talking about the possibility of a mandatory 5-year prison term.
So how realistic is it that Alec Baldwin could face prison time?
Look, I think they're going to have a hard time getting a conviction. I think they still have a number of hurdles to overcome here. First of all, they have to have a preliminary hearing. Typically in a preliminary hearing, it's pretty pro forma. Judge is just determining, is there enough evidence to send the case to trial? In this case, though, I think there's going to be a real fight at the preliminary hearing, particularly to throw out the more significant, the more dangerous for Alec Baldwin involuntary manslaughter charge here. If the case then eventually does go to a jury, I think there still could be challenges in getting a unanimous jury. Why? Because everyone agrees this was a mistake. Everyone. It's just a question of whether it was a criminal mistake. And there are criminal mistakes. Negligence, it can be a criminal mistake. Recklessness, even, can be a criminal mistake. But I think that there are a number of hurdles here for the prosecutors to get past before we start talking about Alec Baldwin in an orange jumpsuit.
Well, there's definitely going to be one talking point, and that is when Alec Baldwin did an interview a few months ago saying that he did not pull the trigger. And when you as a lawyer, when you talk about not opening your mouth before something develops and happens, how much is that going to hurt him?
It was a really dumb comment for Alec Baldwin to make. He said that he cocked the gun and it went off. Oh, absolutely didn't pull the trigger. I never would pull the trigger. My training tells me you can't pull the trigger. The reason that's so dangerous is because now, in an FBI report, they believe that the trigger had to have been pulled. If they're right, that means Alec Baldwin's lying. And that is not helpful to him. It's not helpful to him in the trial. It's not helpful to him at the point where they were deciding whether to charge him, etc. So, this is one of these examples of where a lawyer may not want their client to speak publicly, and we're seeing exactly why.
Well, what legal ramifications will this have in the film industry, you think?
Look, I don't know that it's going to have significant ramifications in film. That'll be more on the sort of civil side. But, this is going to send shockwaves, I think, throughout the film community. The idea that Alec Baldwin and the armorer here, both now criminally charged.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, but I do want to read to you on air here the statement from Alec Baldwin's lawyer here. He said, quote, "This decision distorts Halyna Hutchins' tragic death and represents a terrible miscarriage of justice. Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe there was a live bullet in the gun, or anywhere on the movie set. He relied on the professionals with whom he worked who assured him the gun did not have live rounds. We will fight these charges and we will win. What do you think of that statement, Dan?
It's not surprising. I mean, here's the thing that's not surprising is there are no facts that are surprising to us at this point. It's not like there was a revelation in the document today. The DA is now doing the rounds, doing interviews, etc. No revelations. She believes that the trigger was pulled. She believes that Alec Baldwin and the other people on that set, in particular the armorer, could have and should have prevented this, that there were reports of safety violations that they didn't respond to. And Alec Baldwin's defense is, why are you blaming me? I mean, how am I responsible when I'm handed a gun? Those will be the two sets of arguments made, and those have been the two sets of arguments that have been made up to this point.
Finally, we have about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
What will this do to Alec Baldwin's career?
You know, that's a tough question to answer. I don't really know. I think it's going to be very hard for him to work right now until this is resolved.
All right, Dan Abrams, always great to hear from you. Great analysis as always. All right, guys, we're going to have to take a quick break here on Law&Crime, but there's so much trial coverage ahead. Stay with us. We'll be right back.